Do you wonder if you're the best version of yourself? This is the question we seek to answer in this podcast. We reveal information that helps you recover your health and become resilient. Modern life makes us fragile. Our diet, lifestyle, and environment set us up for failure. We do not accept this. We seek optimization. We strive to become dynamic. Hey, what's going on? It's Dr. Chris here, and today I'm going to be talking about HRV and what you can do to improve your metrics. So first off, what is HRV? HRV is a metric that can be measured through devices like Oura Ring, Whoop, Morpheus, and some other devices like Garmin and Apple Watch. And it stands for heart rate variability. So that measures the space between your heartbeats, the R-to-R ratio it's called, and that is a measure of your autonomic nervous system. So first off, a higher HRV is good, so the more variance there is in the space between your beats is better than less variance. What am I talking about? So if your heart is beating 60 beats per minute, it's not like it beats every second on the second. There's going to be a little bit of a space between them, so slightly longer and slightly slower, or faster, I should say, under normal circumstances. So as you inhale, your heart rate is supposed to slightly increase, and as you exhale, your heart rate is supposed to slightly decrease. That's the normal, sort of sinus rhythm to life when we're under non-duress. So when we're in a parasympathetic state, it should be beating with some variance. As we get more fixated or focused, it gets way steadier. So if your heart rate variability is very steady, that's suggestive of you being in a sympathetic state, whereas there's more variance, that's suggestive that you're in more of a parasympathetic state. It just so turns out that this metric is a very good indicator of how recovered you are the next day. So if you are living in a very stressed state and you're doing a lot of stressors, so if you're working out, you're doing cold plunging, you're doing fasting, you're doing all these things that are technically stressors to your body, including things like blood sugar dysregulation. So it's not just perceived stress, it's all the things. Too much coffee, too much alcohol, these things will plummet your HRV reading the next day. So the idea here is you take a measurement in the morning, you see how recovered you are by this metric, and that can indicate not only what you did that day is too much or too little, but also can help you program how you want to proceed the next day. Really good metric. And because most of us live in a very sympathetic state most of the time, and most of us try to solve stress with more stress, I'm going to talk about things to improve the variance, to become more parasympathetic and therefore to become more recovered. Now, I will say there is such a thing as having too high of an HRV and being too parasympathetic. And that will often present like constantly feeling sluggish or tired. But I might address that in a later podcast or blog, but today I'm just going to talk about parasympathetic activities and what you can do to improve that. I will put this in a PDF and have it in a list, so we'll see how many we come up with today. And as you'll see, a lot of these things kind of overlap with each other because one causes the next. And again, stressor is not perceived stress. It's the total toll your body takes throughout the day. So number one, and by far the most important, is to prioritize sleep. If your sleep is not in order, there's no way you're going to recover your HRV. In fact, even 1 hour of 5 nights of sleep is going to skyrocket your blood sugar into diabetic range. So you really want to aim for 7 to 9 hours. That's what all the research says. It's really past the AR mark where all the real magic happens. And you have to, if you go to bed at, say, 10 and wake up at 6, that's 8 hours. You have to subtract an hour just for regular sleep disturbances. So 10 to 6 really equals 7 hours of sleep. And if you wear a sleep tracker, you'll see this exact pattern. A couple tips here is go to sleep regularly, have a consistent schedule. Sleep cold. Most people sleep way too warm. You want to set your thermostat to at least below 68 Fahrenheit. I sleep at 62, and it really helps with sleep density. So it's not just about the length, but it's also the depth. Dark. You want to sleep dark. Blackout curtains are a great idea. Turn off all the lights in your room. If you got little greedy indicators of things like my amplifier for my music system is in my room. It has to show me that it's on all the time, so I will either unplug it or tape it. So you want pitch black. I mean, we evolved to be in dark, cold caves, and that's what you want to replicate. Okay, next up we've got breath work. So breath work is also a very powerful tool. Most of us breathe too fast. Most of us breathe through their chest. Very sympathetic style breathing. So you want to at least spend a few minutes, ideally right before bed. It's a great idea to do some parasympathetic breathing, right? So you can very easily manipulate what system you're in by how you breathe. So if you do a 4-second inhale, 6-second exhale, in through the nose, out through the mouth, that kind of plays with your respiratory gases, and very quickly will tip you into the parasympathetic system. There's tons of free apps. I like the Breathe app. That's you can do that 4-6 breathing. You can do box breathing. You can do circular breathing. There's all different types, but the app will guide you through parasympathetic style or recovery breath. Okay, next, carb up. Okay, so there's a lot of good reasons to eat a low-calorie diet or keto diet, carnivore diet, ketovore diet, paleo. Those are all low-carb-ish diets, some more extreme than others. But that is technically a type of stressor, and it really depends on your goals. So if you're dealing with diabetes or you're not working out, maybe this is not the right fit for you. And just to point out, this is going to be a pretty exhaustive list, so you don't have to do all these things. Pick the ones that work best for you and match your goals. So if you're an endurance athlete or power athlete, maybe this is not a good fit for you. Or no, I'm sorry, this is a good fit for you. You want to carb up. Or if you're only working out a couple days a week, maybe you want to carb up on the days that you have a lot of intense exercise coming up. But again, being low carb can be a form of stress and can make it difficult to sleep. I think massage is another great tool to increase heart rate variability, particularly like a nice massage, not necessarily a deep tissue massage unless that's something you enjoy. Something like a Swedish massage you feel like you could fall asleep for. That is another great way to trip the parasympathetic system and improve HRV. All right, next up on my list is to reduce stress. All right, this is a easier said than done thing. But, my way of approaching stress, and this is now the perceived stress, is to eliminate and mitigate. So write down a list of all the things that you think possibly stress you out mentally, and go through and cross out what you can and just get rid of the things you possibly can, and then find out strategies to mitigate the things you can't remove, right? So there may be certain people that stress you out in life that are not that important in your life, so cut them out of your life. But there may be others that you just can't avoid, so you have to find strategies around how to mitigate the stress they may induce upon you. So maybe you have a person at work that just bothers you, and you know they're going to be around a certain area at a certain time. Plan meetings around that time so you're not having to engage with that person. Some easy ones I've talked about before on the podcast are things like watching the news. The news is incredibly stressful. Why are you watching it? Get it out. What else? Internet, Facebook, social media, debates. Don't do it. Why? What are you gaining from it? Nothing. It's just stressing you out. Don't do it. Maybe traffic really bothers you, especially here in this area where I am. So maybe you have to leave 15 minutes earlier. Get into the office a little bit early. Avoid the rush and get a little work done before. And I find that really helpful to get the day rolling nicely. Okay, next up is to exercise regularly. This is like breath work. It's like cold exposure, which I'll talk about later. You got to meet yourself where you are. So if you are already working out 3 days a week and your HRV is tanking, maybe you have to go to 2 days a week temporarily. Or maybe you're working out 6 days a week and you're doing fine with it. Great. Stay regular, but find where you are and see how it's affecting your HRV. And if you're doing great, great. If you are trying a lot of the things that I'm suggesting today and it's not helping, maybe you're just exercising too much. Conversely, not doing anything is a form of stress as well. So again, you just have to find where you are and attune your activity level to your HRV. Along those lines, strength training is great for recovery to some degree, in the sense that it improves your blood sugar. So Blood sugar is a stressor. Having too much sugar or too little is really bad. Exercise will help normalize that. Using your muscles draws sugar into the muscle almost like a negative pressure. It soaks it up, and the more muscle you have, the more sugar you can tolerate in the bloodstream. Next up, we got hydration. That is a huge one. You can definitely negatively impact your HRV by simply being dehydrated. A little salts or electrolytes in the water can help you stay hydrated. And along these lines, maintain a healthy diet. Eat, healthy whole foods diet, lots of protein. Avoid the seed oils, avoid the processed crap, the added sugars. Those will also greatly impact your HRV. A lot of people are, focusing on the macros, which is good to know that information, but don't forget that micronutrient deficiency is vital. A lot of syndromes that we develop later in life come down to micronutrient deficiency. So make sure if you are eating fruits and veg, eat the rainbow, get lots of different micronutrients in your diet. And included in that is the right amount of omega-3s. Omega-3s are, you want the right ratio. You need omega-3s and 6s. Most of us have too many 6s in the diet in the form of seed oils. So you want to tip the scale the other way so you can either supplement or, take a fish oil supplement, something like that, or get the right fats from animal products and fish. Next on the list is a big one that no one will like to hear, but it's limit alcohol. Alcohol will definitely tank your HRV. Just about anybody who wears any kind of device to track the HRV will quickly notice how fast alcohol plummets your HRV. Caffeine, too. I am pro-caffeine. I love my coffee. I would just avoid caffeine in the afternoon. If you find yourself having to drink a lot of coffee just to get through your day, that is sort of a signal that your HRV is not where it needs to be. If you're recovering well, that morning cup of coffee is probably all you should need throughout the day. Next up is mindfulness meditation. There's tons of apps that are free out there, like Calm and Headspace. Meditation is a great way to get deep into the parasympathetic state. If you don't know how to meditate, it's really simple. It's just close your eyes, and it's almost like being meta. You want to watch your thoughts and let them come and go. A lot of people think that meditation is about not thinking. It's not quite that. It's observing your thoughts and letting them pass by you like a car and just observing them and being really aware of your state. Like if you just concentrate on how you feel, how your breath feels, that's all there really is to meditation. It's really simple. And then we've got contrast therapy up next. This is probably my favorite one because I don't love meditating. It's boring. So contrast therapy, it feels great. It doesn't take long. Like the ice bath, 2 minutes is all it really takes. I love going back and forth from heat to cold. It just feel like $1 million afterwards. Key point here, though, because you can use contrast therapy to be sympathetic or parasympathetic. So generally, the rule is if it's hard, it's more sympathetic. If you're breathing heavy, it's sympathetic. If you're shivering, it's sympathetic. If it feels nice and you get out feeling really refreshed, that's more parasympathetic. So you just like exercise and breath, you kind of have to meet your body where it's at. So if you're new to cold plunging, for example, maybe 50 degrees is tough. So you have to start at 55 degrees. If you've been doing it for a few years, like myself, 50 degrees feels pretty nice. I can sit in 50 degrees for 10 minutes and it's not that challenging. That's if I'm trying to wind down my day or just improve my HRV, I'll be sitting in 50 degree water. If I want to use the cold plunge to do something before workout and become more sympathetic, because sympathetic is kind of stepping on a gas pedal, it can actually improve performance. Then I'll do it around 40 degrees, because 40 degrees at 2 to 3 minutes, that's tough. I will get in there, and for the first few seconds, I'm huffing and puffing and have to catch my breath. So it just depends on how you use it. And the same goes for sauna and heat. Typically, heat's a little easier for people than cold. But if you've never done any of this stuff, definitely pick one at a time and then adapt yourself to doing the contrast therapy. If you just go deep into it, trying to do 2 minutes in 40-degree water and then going right to a hot sauna, that might be too much too fast for you. All right. Next up, we have spending time in nature. There's a lot of interesting evidence around this, actually. People talk about grounding, which is interesting. But to me, the simple thing is you're living the way you're supposed to, being outside. And more than that, you're using your vision differently. So when you're engaged or fixated on something, like staring at a phone, your vision is tied to your nervous system. That's a sympathetic state. If you're using your peripheral vision, that's way more tied to the parasympathetic state. So looking at the horizon or walking around looking in the forest, those are all very parasympathetic. Listening to relaxing music can be very beneficial too, improve your HRV. So I like to listen to calm music at night as I'm getting into my wind down routine. I personally love bossa nova music. I think that's like probably my favorite relaxing music. Classical's good. You can listen to sounds of nature. Just depends on what you like. There's even something called binaural beats. It's a lot of just tones that sound really nice, and that actually helps me get my daughter to bed. And you could consider doing a sound bath. Sound baths are really fun and just really relaxing. An important one that maybe you forget about is just laugh. Laugh more. Laugh definitely stimulates the vagus nerve and improves HRV. So if you're like me and you're constantly working and you have to schedule some time to watch some stand-up comedy or something, do something and laugh. Practicing gratitude can be very beneficial. So a lot of people will do a gratitude journal. I just like to write down one thing, or even just think about one thing I'm thankful for every day. And that can be as simple as I'm thankful for my family. But just taking that second can be enormous, especially when done consistently over time. And maintaining healthy relationships. So, this I kind of alluded to this earlier when I said reduce stress, but having strong social connections and positive relationships can really contribute to lowering stress levels. And there's been tons of studies on this. Having damaging relationships or being socially isolated is worse for your health than smoking. Also, avoid overtraining and overreaching. So those are things that can be used by coaches purposefully to get an athlete past a hump or plateau. But if you're doing it too often or not the right time, it can be damaging to your HRV. You can try yoga or Tai Chi. These are practices that combine movement, breath work, mindfulness. It's all the stuff we've already been talking about. Great for parasympathetic nervous system. Magnesium intake. So magnesium, most people tend to be low or deficient in magnesium. So magnesium can support muscle relaxation. A lot of times it leads to muscle cramps if you're deficient. And it can just improve overall balance and better sleep. Then there's the blue light blockers I'm a fan of. Circadian rhythm disruption is a massive one in today's society. So if you have to be in front of a TV at night or computer or just you're in the habit of watching Netflix, get some blue light blocking glasses. They're cheap. Regular sun exposure is also very important. Getting some light in the eyes. I'm sure you've heard Huberman talking about this, but that sets your circadian rhythm. So don't avoid the sun. You don't have to wear sunglasses everywhere you go. Get some sun in the eyes. Next on the list is to limit processed food and added sugars. I already talked about this one. These things are highly oxidative. They do massive cascading damage to the body. Just get them out of the diet altogether. All right, next we have alternate nostril breathing. So this is a yogi technique. So you just cover one nostril, so you cover right and breathe with the left. And then just do the opposite, cover left, breathe with the right. The right nostril is associated with the sympathetic nervous system, the left with the parasympathetic nervous system. So if you want to restore balance, which is the ultimate goal of HRV, is to restore baseline, you can just go back and forth and kind of set the autonomic nervous system rhythm. Maintaining a consistent sleep schedule is super important. Again, if you wear any kind of HRV tracker, you'll see this immediately, that staying consistent keeps your HRV on point. So go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time, even on the weekends. All right, next up we have be creative. Engage in creative activities. Paint, play an instrument, write, anything you like to do that's creative, get you a little less overly engaged is a great way to improve HRV. Okay, we got a couple food ones coming up. Take pre or probiotics. So prebiotics seed the gut and probiotics feed the gut. All right, so they're both good to do because having poor gut health is associated with basically every single issue on the planet, and having a healthy gut is paramount to just overall health. Avoid fasting. Fasting is a form of stress. I do fast often, and I love it, and I think everybody should do it for certain periods of time and for certain goals, especially if you have blood sugar issues. But if you're doing it every day and working out and cold plunging and sleeping poorly, that's just more stress in the bucket. So, this is, again, not just one strategy. If you're having trouble improving HRV and maybe you're just fasting too much, that's a possibility. Chewing slowly is very important. If you're just kind of crunching a meal down, I used to work in restaurants and you have like a 30-second break. I would just slam a pizza down as fast as I can. Not good. Very, very sympathetic activity. So make sure to chew slowly and be mindful of what you're doing and what you're eating. Sleep in a completely dark room. I think I already mentioned this in the sleep part. We are meant to sleep in caves. Even having a little bit of light exposure can turn on cortisol and wake you up. All right, we're almost there. Spending time with pets is a good idea. Interacting with animals can lower stress levels, boost your mood, improve HRV. And then consider, this is probably we got last two here, digital detox. This is one that's hard to do, and it's been on my goal list. Spend some time away from social media, away from your phone, away from electronics in general. We're so inundated all the time. It's very dopamine releasing. It's a very sympathetic activity. I'm trying to get to the point where I just turn off my phone all weekend. My wife and I have been talking about doing this. It actually hasn't happened yet. We want to get an old school landline and give our number out only to important friends and family and just detox from digital stuff for an entire weekend. At least try it a couple times because it is so damaging to the psyche. And the last one would be red light therapy. So exposure to red and near infrared light has been shown to reduce inflammation, improve cellular function, and enhance HRV. So there you go. There's 35 things you can do. You don't have to do them all. Pick a couple. When we're talking about habit change, it's best to implement one thing at a time. Find the thing that you find either easiest to do or the thing you might enjoy. That's going to have way more stickiness than trying to do 2, 3, 4 of these things at once. But implement one at a time and see what happens to your HRV. And then keep adding, and see what that does. And you'll find your sweet spot of all the things that you need to do to become fully recovered, because the better recovered you are, the better you can perform, and the more sessions you can get in. So if you are getting recovered faster, that might mean you can get an extra workout in per week. If that's, it doesn't sound like a whole lot. I mean, if you do that for a full year, that's, 52 extra workouts per year. What's that going to do for your performance? So I'd personally recommend dialing in your HRV as much as you can, get recovered as much as you can. From there, if you want to take it a step up and get really resilient, check out the Physiologic Flexibility Program. That is the purpose, is to first dial in this stuff and then enhance your capacity so it's easier for you to recover. A ship in harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are meant to do. What does this mean? It means exposing yourself to difficult situations so you become resilient. If you need help building resilience, check out our flagship program called Physiologic Flexibility. This is a 3-month do-it-yourself program that teaches you how to maximize your homeostatic regulators, such as your pH, blood glucose, O2 and CO2 tolerance, and temperature. We give you specific action items through the program with the goal of becoming anti-fragile. If you want to become the inspiration for your friends and family, this is the program for you.